Hello everybody and welcome back to another Atra Studios tutorial. Now today we're going to be working on creating a damage script for our character. Now when I say damage script for our character, we're simply just saying we're going to add a hazard to where if our character hits it, they die and then they respawn at a new point. So without further ado, let's get started. Now the first thing I want us to do is of course modify our game manager script that we did inside of the previous tutorial. Now if you recall, we had a debug function on the game manager script which was not really something that we wanted to do. So you're going to replace that debug function with this public void called respawn right here, and we're just going to be able to call this later on and allow ourselves to be able to spawn at a new position. Okay, that's all we're going to do there. But with that in mind, let's also go over to our player and we're going to create a singleton for this object. So we're going to go #region and we're going to just type in singleton like so. We're going to create a public static player and we're going to call this instance. Now if this looks familiar, it's because we did this before with our game manager. So we're just doing this right now, so we'll be able to have access to our player at any time with any object without having to use a get component, which we don't basically takes up a lot more time and room with your RAM. Okay, so since we got that done, there are two different types of scripts that we're going to be creating today. One is our stats script, and then one, of course, is our damage script. Now, the stats script is going to simply hold a variable which tells us how much health we have. And then, of course, it's also going to allow us to be able to access the damage function and that sort of stuff. So for this, we're going to simply go to our scripts folder. We're going to right click. We're going to create a C# or a folder called components. Then we're going to right click, create a C# script, and we're going to call that script stats. We're going to go inside of Unity or Visual Studios, and we're going to simply put in these square brackets called range, put 0 to 100 as our limit. We're also going to serialize this field right here, and then we're going to create a private int called max health. And for now, we're going to make that equal to 100. The next thing I want to do is I want to create a private int called cur health, like so. And then we're going to create a void start function, and then we're going to say cur health is equal to max health. So if you ever change this variable, then this will update with it. The next thing I want to do is I want to create a public void called take damage. And for this, we want to put in a condition. So we're going to put a condition of an integer, and we're going to call that amount. So we're going to be taking away this amount from the health whenever we take damage. So we're going to say cur health minus equals amount. Then we're going to say if cur health is less than or equal to 0, then we're going to basically kill our player. So for this, we're just going to call our respawn method. So we're going to say game manager.instance.initiate, or I want to invoke, that's what it is. And for this invoke, we're going to simply call our respawn method, and we'll give a time of 1 second. This will give us enough time to be able to call this character, or basically make this character play its death animation, stop moving, whatever. But we're not going to do any of that today. This is just where you would put it right after you invoked it. So just keep that in mind. All right, that's all we need to do with our stats script. The next thing we want to do is create a damage script. So we're going to go back over into Unity. And for this damage script, we're going to go into our interaction folder. Now, if you recall, inside of our last tutorial, we set up our respawn point using a hit interaction. And this is going to be very similar to that, except we're not really going to be using the interaction script itself. We're just going to be using similar methods. So that's the reason why I put it inside of this folder. So I'm going to create a C# script, and we're going to call it damage area. We're going to open that up. And inside this damage area, all we need to do is create a public int called damage. And for now, we're going to make it equal to our max damage. And then we're going to create a, let's do a void on trigger enter 2D. And we're going to say if collision dot tag is equal to player. And you could always change this by creating a string which calls the tag that you wanted to damage, right? So if you wanted to damage an enemy, then you could put that public string there and then just change the this string right here to whatever you want it to be. But for now, I'm going to leave it like so. So if the tag is equal to that, then we're going to say, we're going to grab that singleton that we just created. So player.instance dot. Now here's the part where we have to think about this, because we don't want to use get components. Get components can be very strenuous on your RAM and memory. So we're actually going to go back over into our player script. We're going to roll down and we're going to create a variable here. So we're going to create a space. Then we're going to create, or we're going to serialize this field like so. And we're going to create a private stats and call it stats, right? Then we're going to roll down here. We're going to say stats is equal to get component stats, like so. And then we're going to roll down even further, and we're going to create a public function. So we're going to say public stats is equal, or public stats, and then we're going to set this stats. So we're going to say get stats, like so. And we're going to return, so return our stats variable. Now this may seem like a roundabout method, may seem to be taking a lot longer, but what we're doing is we're bypassing having to get the component by simply returning this component that we had already got in the beginning of the game. I know that sounds confusing, but let's just say it saves on memory. So we're going to go back over into our damage area, and we're just going to call our get stats, like so. Then we're going to say dot take damage. And for the damage, we're just simply going to plug in our damage right there and hit Control S. Okay, so that's all that takes right there. So we're going to come back over into Unity. Now there's two different things that we need to do here. The first thing we need to do is go over to our player and make sure that we add that stats script on there. You know me, I always forget to do it. I did last time whenever I was setting this video up. Took me a while to figure it out. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to select our player, and right now it has that. We're going to remove that. So I'm going to go ahead and add the stats script like so. As you can see, we have this slider now, which makes it min, max, and we have this right here. Now, obviously, we don't have to drag this on there because we're going to get it at the beginning of the game, but just because I want to, I'm going to drag it and drop it like so. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the hierarchy. We're going to create a, let's go 2D object, sprites, and let's do a square. So we're going to drag this square down, drag it over. We're going to set the default sorting layer to 0, and then order layer is going to be equal to 10. Let's go ahead and scale it up a little bit. So 3 by, no, we'll go 2 by 2, I think. Yeah, that should be good enough. Give it a nice red tint. Yeah, drop its alpha down a little bit. And then we're just going to add our damage script on here. So damage area. And we need to add a box collision or some form of collider. Set it to is trigger, and boom. All right, so now we're just going to copy that and drag that over here. And then copy that, drag that way over here. Hit Control S. We're going to now press play, and we're going to see if our character dies, which is going to be pretty cool. Well, maybe not cool, but you know, if it works, it works, right? That's all that matters. All right, so let's see it. So we're going to first run over here. We didn't hit our checkpoint, so we hit this, and okay. So we have that delay, and then it respawns us. We hit this, we hit the damage point, and it respawns us. Boom, just like so. Oh, we accidentally hit it. There we go. This is more challenging than what it looks like. Boom. And just like that, guys, we now have the ability to take damage. And you could always change how much time this takes on our stats. So with this, invoke something less and then do whatever. Or like I said, you could freeze the character where they're at so then they can't move, all that sort of stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, check out some other videos, and I'll see you guys next time.